In the Kaitak, as we turn our attention to a clash of world champions on table one. Here comes another World Grand Prix winner and reigning Masters champion, back to his best and bidding for what would be a staggering 53rd ranking event semi-final, a class act on and off the bays, Shaun the Magician Murphy. A great tune for a great player. And finally, to one of the all-time greats, emerging for a world record-breaking 147th ranking event quarter-final, less than a week after returning to winning ways with that title at the World Open. This legend of the game is back in the Hig time. Here comes the Wizard of Wishaw, John Higgins.
Well, not quite 1,000 miles, but it is quite a trek to get to the table. But John Higgins has arrived safely, and we're ready to go for our first quarter-final here on table one. A 23rd meeting between the great John Higgins and Shaun Murphy for a place in the semi-finals of the World Grand Prix. First of 5 frames to go through, the usual interval after 4. Neal Foulds alongside me. A brilliant performance yesterday from Higgins, Neal against Kyren Wilson. Murphy less impressive in beating Barry Hawkins, but today's another day.
It is, and it certainly was an impressive performance with Higgins. If anything, that's the best he's played in the last couple of weeks, and that includes all of what he achieved at the World Open. But that was a stunning long red. These are the two form players, in my opinion, of the year. 2025, obviously the Masters champion and the World Open winner. There have been other events in and around it, but Murphy's win yesterday against Barry Hawkins, I expected that to be a real top-class match.
6.
It wasn't quite, but today, as you say, is another day, and they're really generally brimming with confidence. Murphy always looks confident, doesn't he, when he's at the table?
7.
Aside from wanting to go deep this week and perhaps lift another ranking title, Murphy's also looking to secure that spot for the Crucible. And if he wins today, he could find himself provisionally back in the top 16 in that regard.
14.
He's just behind Neil Robertson at the moment, outside of the bubble, but victory today would put him above Ali Carter, who occupies the 16th and final spot. Carter's out, of course.
15.
So if Murphy wins and Robertson were to lose on table 2 against Xiao Guodong, then Murphy would be back as a seed. But of course, there's also the matter of the upcoming Players and Tour Championships, both of which Murphy is set to play in. So
22.
it's looking good for him, even if today doesn't go to plan. But this is a promising start.
23.
Yeah, he's just gone too far. He played a good shot, a couple of shots back to move that red away from the black, but he kind of really thumped that shot in, and I don't know, this might cut, but it's very, very thin, so he's just playing in behind it.
Shaun Murphy, 23.
It's a good start for Murphy, confident start.
Higgins was quite outstanding against Kyren Wilson. It was a match of the highest quality right from the start. Wilson made a 1-3-1 total clearance in the first frame. Higgins responded with the highest break of the tournament so far, a 1-4-3. and then finished the match with a century. Wilson didn't pot a ball in the last 3 frames from 2-1 up. And of course, Higgins now, as he's put it, has got that monkey off his back, having won a ranking title for the first time in 4 years. That must have given him a huge boost. Confirmation in his own mind that he's still got what it takes to win a big title, get over the line, which he'd struggled to do since winning the Players' Championship in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, there was some suggestion he might have a bit of a reaction this week. And maybe that would have been in his first match, where, of course, he beat Ali Carter. He could have lost that match, in fairness, but he played out of his skin against the world champion. So maybe the window of getting the reactions closed now. He's just playing well. He's got the pressure off him. Well, he played it again pretty boldly. Does the red by the pink go to middle? You get the feeling it does. John's having a look down the line to see if it pops, but yeah, it goes comfortably. So he kind of took that red on very belligerently there, Murphy, with leaving this ball as and when it was missed.
One.
I think John Higgins knows that now he's in form, he needs to fill his boots, really. I think he'll know that there'll be times when you're not playing well and you're not winning enough matches. But while he is, he knows full well that he's got to now exploit this run of form that he appears to be in.
No concerns for Higgins as regards his Crucible place, or indeed the upcoming 2 Players Series events that follow this one. He's catapulted himself up to 3rd on that 1-year list by winning last week.
Seven.
Didn't play that shot particularly well. I mean, obviously the pot just rolled it in, and now he's left with 2 fairly straightish shots to either top right or right middle. This is never a nice shot to play if he's playing it at a fairly gentle pace. Don't know if he can get onto the black, to the left corner, whether that goes, but if he's rolling it, this is a very missable shot. Well done.
8.
Better shot than it appeared.
It's not been his strongest suit this tournament in the past. This is only his 2nd quarter-final appearance. He's lost 5 times in the last 32. But arriving this year, obviously, on a high.
13. Fourteen.
It's not worked out very well at all. He's on it to middle, as you can see. It's not a particularly appealing shot. I think if he can pot it, though, he might be able to get onto the red. May still be potable to the green pocket. So he's not doing a lot with this, at least. That was kind of the only good thing about it. The cue ball didn't have to go anywhere.
16.
Very strange, isn't it? He put the extension on his cue there because he's got a very long bridge at the front. I haven't seen anyone do that before, I don't think, for a shot of that kind.
17.
Even Shaun Murphy seems deeply suspicious about it. Obviously, we're joking. I mean, he can do what he likes, but I don't think I've seen that too often.
Twenty-two. Twenty-three.
Well, the three reds are sort of locked together somewhat here, although the bottom one of the three might go into the pocket he's taking this black into. But he also might nudge them here. Yeah. Although he always had that bottom red, the backup red that he's on, to the right corner.
30.
So in this, if he can get onto a colour here nicely, presumably the black, he's sort of engineered a good opportunity.
They did play in this tournament last season. A resounding win on that occasion for Murphy, but that was the best of 7, 4-0. First round. Rather more at stake today.
31.
As has been mentioned, Higgins playing a record-breaking 147th ranking quarter-final to move one ahead of Ronnie O'Sullivan, going for his 87th semi-final.
$38.
And looking likely to take the first frame. He's not going to need that awkward red.
$39.
It's gone a fraction too far. I mean, it's not really a problem, but he'd rather be a ball's width further up on this because you've got to just grab the cue ball and stop it from travelling too far down the table. Never going to be a problem for John, but it is one of those shots you can miss time.
46.
It was a very confident start from Murphy. He crunched a long red in. Maybe didn't quite go on at that visit to make as many as he could or should have. And then he took the red onto middle, which he really
47.
hit hard. And, you know, it's safe in the knowledge he was leaving that red, which caused all this. At the moment, I don't think you want to leave Higgins anything. Clearly, he's so confident.
He turns 50 in May, of course. Mark Williams, his fellow class of 92
54.
great, reaches that milestone this month. Ronnie O'Sullivan in December. All three still in the top 8. Higgins having
55.
got back there by dint of winning last week. Further testament to their remarkable longevity at the top of the sport. So just this red for Higgins.
60. Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, the frame is basically safe. Whether he
61.
decides to roll this black in or does play to shift the red, I mean, of course, the century is more likely if he plays the cannon. The cannon is very gettable, either directly or off the left cushion. It's a big target, this red. And he's playing the shots. Yeah, a big target, but not quite big enough to develop the red. So unless he
68.
finds a pocket for this red, it's the end of the break, but it's a good start either way. Doesn't double into the middle bag, he's just playing safe. He's giving it the sand and cement treatment
68.
here.
45 the difference, 35 on. 3 snookers needed for Murphy. Good luck with that against John Higgins in a snooker as well.
Yeah, I think he's made his intentions very clear there, hasn't he, Higgins? You know, he could have been striving for a big break to start the match, or what he has done, he's essentially
Foul.
won the frame.
John
and
Higgins 4. And
he's
first
looked
frame.
over at John Higgins and he's conceded.
A nice break of 68 from John Higgins after Shaun Murphy had missed the red into the right centre. A tough one. Higgins once again in ruthless mood at the start of this quarter-final here in Hong Kong. He leads the reigning Masters champion by a frame to nil.
Thank you. Second frame. Shaun Murphy to break.
John Higgins picking up where he left off in that magnificent performance against Kyren Wilson. A break of 68 to clinch the opening frame. Shaun Murphy got in early with a great long red. Missed to both corner pockets thereafter. And Higgins stepped in with that 68 break for 1-0. First to 5 now, of course, for a place in the semi-finals and a meeting with either Xiao Guodong or Neal Robertson, who are playing on table 2 and Discovery Plus. The first frame still underway there. That's maybe one area of Higgins' game, even in winning the World Open, which wasn't as good as he would have liked it to be, his long potting. And indeed, for a lot of that tournament, he wasn't at his best by any means, but he dug deep, came through a couple of final frame deciders, which he hadn't been doing this season. He'd lost 7 of those.
Yeah, I mean, didn't beat a top player, did he? John Higgins that week, or, you know, although everyone he beat was playing well, especially Joe O'Connor, but of course this week he's already beaten a couple of top players in Ali Carter and the world champion, so that's changed. But his long game, as you say, has not always been great. Murphy, I don't know, he started this frame as confidently as the last, although it didn't amount to much in frame 1. He's certainly not leaving anything behind, is he? He's absolutely belting that brown in opening the reds up, creating this opportunity straight up. He's incredibly dangerous, isn't he? He's determined to play in a certain manner against John Higgins, but of course in the end he sat out a decent break from Higgins in frame 1, which a lot of players have been doing against Higgins recently, spending their time away from the table. Now he's got to make something of this. The red above the black opens things up a little bit.
Now in his 43rd year, Murphy, but I would suggest that he's playing as well as he's ever done right now. His performance at the Masters was quite brilliant. His second Masters title, of course. And certainly, given the way he's cueing, the way he's feeling about the state of his game, you'd have to make him one of those names that has got to be considered a serious contender for the World Championship. It doesn't always work out like that, of course, but based on the way he's playing and the confidence he's displaying, he would be many people's pick to go deep. Champion 20 years ago, he's been in 3 finals at the Crucible since then. One of those players to have won all 3 of these Players Series events, albeit that he won this title before the Players Series started. It was actually the first year that it was a ranking event back in 2016 when he beat Stuart Bingham in Llandudno in a decider.
That world final they played in 2009 is almost a forgotten world final, isn't it? No one really remembers it. It wasn't the most memorable final, of course, that's why. 18-9 to Higgins. For some reason that didn't capture the imagination like so many others.
Yeah, I remember Murphy saying afterwards that
21.
every time he came to the table in that final, he was in trouble. Higgins tied him up in knots, dominated it. But of course, Murphy got the better of Higgins on his way to the title in 05.
$23. 24. 29.
Well, that comes as a surprise. I think the natural angle
29.
of the pot probably took the cue ball fairly close to the red below it, so you want to hit more of the red to avoid the one below it, but of course he's now missed the pot.
One.
If Shaun Murphy goes the same way in this frame as frame one, it would be a very poor start because he's been in both times. And this is an excellent red to move for Higgins, straight away trying to get the troublesome red
6.
away, which opens up the black. Sometimes those little shots can go unnoticed, but it was the key red, actually, to land on.
Well, this would
7.
really hurt Murphy, wouldn't it? Because he was cueing so sweetly, as he did right at the start of the first frame. But to miss that red to the left corner, that would have stung, particularly if Higgins can make him pay here.
$14.
Zhao Guodong took that opening frame against Neal Robertson, so 1-0 to the Wuhan Open champion.
15.
The respective winners of these two matches will play in the semi-finals tomorrow.
$22.
Yeah, it's okay. There were many options there in playing that cannon of reds he could be on. I mean, he'd love to pot this one down the cushion here that he's looking at, but it's more difficult than others, and it would be a huge shot to play at the moment. He feels that perhaps he could repeat the dose of frame one in this visit by winning it with the second chance of the frame, Murphy getting the first.
23.
Once again, playing into an area, although
1 to 5.
I don't suppose he wanted to be quite this distance away from the red. I don't think it matters much if he's got a slight angle on it, as he has. But of course, the couple of reds on the right of the table, he's going to need some of those, one of those at least. He can't win the frame any other way, and the red by the pink's also a little tied up, so there's work to be done. Nothing to assume that he will win the frame here, other than the fact that he's playing so well. Seems, don't know. Well, you saw him once or twice last week in Shaun do this, get up 2 or 3 times from a shot, start again, playing to run through now. I think initially he was just stunning it in onto the black. I think he changed his
1
mind,
to 6.
and I think the best way is to start the process of lining the shot up again from scratch.
Spoke very candidly after his triumph last week about the dark times that he endured in that 4-year hiatus when he didn't win and came close to winning a number of times. Failed to get over the line. Question whether he should really continue to put himself through it with all the travel involved, the practice necessary.
33.
But he's been rewarded for persistence. He's never lost the belief in his game, and he's now a ranking champion again.
Interesting that the red goes to the right corner. It must say it did look from the angle we're seeing now as if it was tied up, but it will pass. So that does change things, although there's still the need for the 2 reds on the right side to be met.
$34.
So the lead is 12, so now just establishing that, I mean, he could have taken 2 red blacks and then one of the right-hand reds with the black would have been enough, but I don't think he's going to keep taking them, which suggests he will need all of the 4 reds now. So there's plenty still to do. Is he going to try and move the top red and land on the bottom one? Because things are certainly more difficult from here. You could try and land on the bottom red of the 2. If he gets the perfect angle, it's not a difficult shot. So it's one of those 2 options. I think he surely isn't happy with that. This is a horrid shot now, queuing over a ball. This is a sort of shot, you've got to roll it. If you miss it, it stays over the pocket. So there's hope for Murphy here. This, however well he's playing, is a tough one. There was no other way.
John Higgins.
He was sure to leave over the pocket. I think when he hit it, he believed it was in, but it was always in that bottom jaw. They're not playing on the tables in Shaun well. I think it would have just fallen into the pocket over there. It was a good shot, unlucky. You know, the idea to move the other red out was a good one, but I mean, this yellow to middle now is an even bigger shot than the one that John faced when he was trying to roll this in. I think that would have gone in the World Open on those pockets.
Green ball. Shaun Murphy 1.
Well, that was a good decision, perhaps. The yellow to middle might have felt too big a shot for Murphy. So that's just using your discretion at times, not always taking on the attacking option if you don't really fancy the shot. Well, the green was always coming to his rescue as far as leaving the red. We haven't had a huge amount of tactical frames. I think the frames, perhaps that Hossein Vafai is one of, well, I'm not sure how he's in the tournament actually, because he had a lot of frames. He's come from 50 plus behind to win. But, you know, with these two, this is the sort of frame you have to try and win, one that will probably go down to the colours. The century breaks are kind of speak for themselves, really, don't they? Frames like this, you have to try and win. And Murphy will not be refusing this long red.
Knocked in a fantastic opening red at the start of the match. Missed a short range red into this left corner when he was going nicely in this frame. Can he knock in this much more difficult one to get himself back in? He's overcut it. Double kiss. Where's the red ending up? He's okay. Bit of luck there for Murphy.
That's another good shot. Although rolling into the left-hand red from the side cushion is not difficult.
What a start from Zhao Guodong. It's going to be 2-0 for the Wuhan Open champion over English Open winner Neal Robertson. On a big break at the moment in the second. Coverage continues. Discovery Plus. The winner of that plays the winner of this in the semi-finals. It's actually 3-all in that head-to-head on table 2. And Zhao has won the last 2 meetings, both in this tournament, albeit in first rounds 2019 and 2 years ago.
That's well played for Murphy. That's an excellent safety shot. Even Higgins has to acknowledge that.
Need to back Murphy to pot that. But of course, there's still the issue of the awkward final red tied up by the green, which both players are going to need. A break of 99 from Zhao Guodong. He was one pot away from his 6th century of the tournament, but missed the blue. Nevertheless, 2-0 up on Neal Robertson. What a start.
Yes, Guodong continuing that terrific form. The way he finished off against Leipe Fan yesterday was 2-0 down, and then, as Philip said, those 3 centuries, he's playing like it. I know he missed a very gettable blue on 99, but they're just the stats. The fact is he's playing brilliantly. Cannon here, difficult to do. It's strange, isn't it? Did he even play the cannon there?
7.
Because it did feel like he probably wouldn't be able to make it, but maybe just pinning his hopes on putting Murphy in all kinds of trouble. I think he could have done a little better. He has got awkward cueing, but you know, Murphy, he could be in more trouble than perhaps he is. Not saying it's particularly rosy, this frame, but 25 behind. But he's still got a glimmer. Now the problem here, Higgins doesn't need the yellow, which is safe, the green, which is safe. Red in any colour is too many.
A reprieve. He's undercut that red, and he's also left it.
It's just so difficult to think how he could clear here, you know, with the yellow nailed to one cushion and the green right at the other end of the table buried as well.
One.
So it's all about yellow and indeed green, and yellow to green, which is some assignment, isn't it?
Interesting though, isn't it? Because I don't know if he thought of this, but to pop the black now and get it on its spot, it kind of tells you that if he could pop the yellow, it would be a good snookering ball on the green to push the green down the table. I don't know if he has given that any thought, but he's not going to clear up here, surely, is he? To think that he could, you know, pop these balls from these positions. So I think if he pots the yellow, you probably feel that he will try and get the snooker now that he's put the black down on its spot. He may have other ideas, but be optimistic to think he could clear.
The pot looks rather easier from that angle than it actually is. And Murphy, playing it at pace, has just about rattled it in. Of course, playing it at that speed made it harder.
Yeah, and so now you see potting the black there was in his favour, because actually, if he executes his shot well and gets the snooker, puts the green in the middle of the table somewhere, he's almost favoured in the frame, despite being 15 behind. The snooker was virtually cast iron, wasn't it? He's almost overrun it, though.
Shaun Murphy 10.
He'll be annoyed, even if he has got the snooker, because the swerve is very makeable here. I needed that green to be the other side of the blue. So he just overhit it. You know, I don't even think Higgins has got to play a swerve. It's always harder not to get the snooker than get the snooker there. But this is a Shaun Murphy special when he's playing well. A beautiful cueing shot but there's a lot resting on this.
Very well done. And this would be a big frame for Murphy to win. He had a good chance much earlier in the frame. Mr. Red.
7.
It would have been a hurtful one to lose, but what a chance now. He's got to steal it at the end.
12.
Yes, he knows the importance of this, and he's taken these well. The green he knocked in, he didn't pot it cleanly, but it was cleanly enough played to go in.
105 on the frame.
Shaun Murphy clears
Shaun Murphy.
the colours. It was an excellent pot on the green that set up that all-important steal for him to level the match. So battle joined here on table 1. John Higgins won, Shaun Murphy won.
Thank you. Frame 3. John Higgins to break.
John Higgins had chances for 2-0. As it is, 1 each. Shaun Murphy knocking in a terrific long green on his way to clearing and winning the frame on the black after Higgins had made 68 in the first. So 1 apiece, 5 is the target. The winner to play either Robertson or Zhao. Zhao Guodong currently 2-0 up. Robertson in early in the third on Discovery Plus. And later, the remaining 2 quarterfinals. Judd Trump, the world #1, of course, 3 times a winner of this tournament, against Hossein Vafai, the late replacement for Ronnie O'Sullivan, who's made the most of it so far, even though he's continuing to have physical issues. And Stuart Bingham against Mark Selby. Oh, that is just wonderful cueing from Murphy. He's a sight to see when he's in that kind of touch.
He really needed to win that second frame, but I mean, he started the match with an absolute crunching red like that. And that's the problem Higgins has got. How is he going to contain him? I think you get the feeling Higgins, when he's in, is maybe looking more dangerous of the two. You know, he's making fewer errors. Although he really should have won frame 2. That red along the cushion is the reason he didn't. It's a match that's likely to live up to the billing, I think, this one.
Six. Thank you. 7.
Yeah, a little loose with the cue ball there, perhaps.
12.
Don't know what he played, but he didn't mean to hit that red. He's got the red to middle now is what he's got, and he might have to try and develop the black, but all of this is quite difficult. Now, what's he done to the black? Well,
13.
he's put it in play, although when it's potted, it'll go next to the red. So basically, although we didn't see it, he didn't hit the red in potting the red, he hit the black. So where does he keep this break going? There was he up against the side of the bunch. But it's a question of whether he can get to the ball to pot it. The red just below there. It's all a little bit at close quarters. I figure that he must be able to pot it, or else he'd just be playing up the table.
registered that extraordinary stat on his way to his second Masters title. He didn't miss a single time with the rest in the entire tournament. Incredible, really. But he's just overcut that one. It was awkward, particularly with the extensions.
Shaun Murphy.
So the break
20.
ends prematurely for Murphy.
Well, look at this, a 4-ball plant. It looks unmissable, doesn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, it could be that he puts 2 reds here. You certainly feel that the one over the pocket is soon to disappear. Yeah, I'm not surprised the other red went in, because it looked laid on really to just pot them both. Could have probably done with it not going in that second red. It's probably all the cue power that John has got these days. It was controlled and it's opened the reds up nicely.
A great start to the match next door, where Neal Robertson has responded to the early burst from Zhao Guodong. Robertson's on a big break himself and is going to halve the deficit to 2-1.
9.
He's spoken in quite excited fashion this week, Robertson, about changes he's made to his cue, which he feels has added a whole new dimension to his game. He says he's now potting balls that he hasn't been able to for years. Still getting used to those changes, but clearly very positive about the difference it's going to make to his game with the World Championship looming.
15.
Plenty of other snooker to play before that as well. Regardless of today's outcome, Robertson is going to be in the Players and the Tour Championship for the top 16 and 12 respectively, as will this man. Higgins no stranger to tinkering with his
16.
equipment either. He's had 3 different cues in all this season alone. He's also made changes technically to his game, shortening his bridge, always looking for something extra in a bid to keep himself at the top of the game. And of course, all of those changes have paid off handsomely for him in the last few days. Into the reds, but not quite as planned.
No, but it's quite good, isn't it? I mean, that was very fortunate. As you say, he tried to just go into the bunch
20.
and he ended up hitting the only safe red and double kissing it. I mean, if he gets onto his next colour, you know, it's helped him no end. Of course, the reds are still awkward, but the blacks being freed is allowing him options.
$21.
You'll certainly have a look at the pink here, even though it's probably too difficult with the rest. So, in fact, he's not even looked at it. So, position on the next red, not straightforward. Is he playing into it again off 2 cushions into the bunch? Oh, this is a great effort. Great shot. I know he hit the pink on the way through, but the line was perfect.
26. $27. 34. 35. 42.
So, certainly going into the reds, just a question of getting onto his colour here. Wow, everything is resting on knocking this blue in, isn't it, with the reds absolutely gone.
Blue ball.
Into places of great certainty that he'll pot them, basically. So what a chance. It's a little bit strangely where he's finished here. I don't know whether the black goes past the red, but he's just sort of psyching himself up for this next shot. Dead straight.
Nine.
Murphy got him first once again, ended up with an awkward rest shot with the extensions into the left corner, which he just missed. And Higgins now looking the firm favourite to take full advantage of that and retake the lead.
56.
One more red after his next colour.
57.
He's run on a little there, but he's okay, I think.
He certainly has run on a bit, hasn't he? It was a really loose shot from John. And obviously this is frame ball. He's a little bemused how he's managed this. He's basically looked at the scores and realises once this goes in, nothing else matters much because you've got red on after it. He'd hate to miss this now. So one snooker, 44 the difference. Clearly Murphy
64.
would carry on if Higgins doesn't cut this red to right middle.
John Higgins, 64.
It always feels like a tougher ask when you need a snooker against John Higgins, such as his tactical acumen, but it is just the one for Murphy. Murphy needs a snooker.
Well, he's got some of the red. I'm sure he can. Well, I thought he could get to the edge of the red by the pink here, but it's a delicate little shot. He's got to worry about going in off in the yellow pocket here. Or knocking the yellow in. Goodness me, all sorts of things happening. I mean, obviously, when it's one snooker, you do everything you can not to make a foul of any kind, letting the cue ball run around and knock a ball in, which nearly happened there.
And what a difference that would have made. Murphy would have been favourite to win the frame had that yellow disappeared. As it is, still needs the snooker.
One.
Of course, he doesn't have to leave the red on the table here because it is one snooker. He could pop a red and a black now and try and get the snooker on the colours. He doesn't need to keep the red on the table, as is the case when it's more than one snooker. If he's unsure what to play, I think he should just pop the red and the black. You're looking at the red and think, how do I get a snooker on it? So I think surely he just pots it, tries to pursue the snookers required on the colours. Don't understand what he's thinking about here. Yeah, that was all he could do that was logical.
7.
And he's still in the frame. Well, you know, he can lay a snooker. Yes, Higgins is good, as Philip pointed out, at hitting them, but there's always the snooker that is, you know, odds against to be hit by anybody at times. It's got to make sure you get the snooker like that. So the frame's live.
14. Shaun Murphy, 14.
Nicely picked out from Higgins. So 32 now the lead with only 25 left. It's 2 snookers for Murphy. Right in the middle.
John Higgins, 2.
That would be an annoyance to John, because so no snooker. It's almost a carbon copy of the shot at the other end of the table when he potted the yellow. This kind of shot is very similar. Well, this is not threatening. And really, I don't see him getting 2 snookers here. He wouldn't really fancy it to happen all that often. The balls, I know they're on their spots, but they're not. You need a colour sort of close to a pocket or a ball's width from the side cushion somewhere to land in behind. I feel that John will win this frame and lead 2-1.
Well, that's one way of getting a snooker. It's not going to be difficult for Higgins to hit, though, assuming he is snookered. Wow, he only just hit it, and he's gone in off. Oh, and look at where the green is relative to the brown. What an extraordinary shot that was.
Yeah, and I tell you, had he not made contact with it, you know, it may have been a free ball. Clearly, it's not a free ball now, but like you say, you know, he can get a snooker. So they've found a bit of drama from nowhere in this frame. I mean, try and recreate that shot. He's going to be in a pretty evil snooker here, isn't he? For sure. So just when you sort of write off a frame, and I think most people had, something like that happens. Bizarre.
Looked pretty straightforward for Higgins to hit that green full ball, but just skimming off the edge has changed the dynamic in this frame pretty dramatically if Murphy can really get him glued behind the brown here. And the green out in the open.
Do you know, he's actually played that all right in the end because he is glued to that brown ball. This is a deeply unpleasant snooker. Well, it's a real plot twist, isn't it? I mean, how on earth have we seen this? 2 snookers. He's in well, he fluked that snooker. Murphy, the double kiss. Higgins played an odd shot, didn't he? Goodness me. I mean, you can almost see that he was virtually missing it on the left side from the cushion. Now he's in a world of pain here, isn't he? This is horrid. Different ball game, isn't it?
Foul.
A miss can't be called. That's the first thing to say.
Shaun Murphy 4.
But other than that, if Murphy, I mean, I guess he's going to have to roll up behind the pink here, isn't he? He'd like to pop this, but it's the only way, really. He doesn't want it to go in. Now, of course, John could hit this and pot it, and that would be frustration for Murphy. It's been an odd few minutes.
Certainly has. Higgins losing a frame from 2 snookers required just isn't a thing, is it? But Murphy's rather let him off the hook there. Could have been a much more challenging snooker.
I think the question for Higgins here is not so much which way am I going to hit it, because there's 2 or 3 different ways he could go. But it's now he really does want to have to pot this here. He's going to be trying to pot it, not just hit it.
And if he doesn't pot it, of course, he needs to leave it safe because the colours are all there for Murphy. This frame is live again now.
Yeah, and because I was interested in the way he's played that. Now, what does Murphy do? He can't have him put him back
Shaun
in
Murphy 4.
because he's likely to pot it. So I really don't know what he does. Does he ask John to play from there? The miss, surely, I mean, Maike Kesseler's looking at it.
From there.
I was going to say, there's no way in the world he would have that put back because John's likely to pot it second time. And just, it's strange game, snooker. We've seen, you know, however many thousands of frames. And that looked like two snookers, not going to get them, set them up, 2-1 Higgins. And now, due to a real twist of fate, it's absolutely wide open. And John might end up playing to pop this again off 2 cushions. He could still pop match frame ball here. 2 cushions, goodness me. Shaun put him back in. It's an odd one, isn't it? What was Shaun meant to do there? The other alternative would be to play this shot himself. He could have done that.
If he does pop this, then Murphy will need a snooker again. Looking good. Wow, what a frame. What a finale.
Why didn't Shaun Murphy play that shot? Because he could have afforded the 4 points. This is what I was saying, you know, the miss was called. He couldn't have had it put back. He could have played it from where the balls landed or put John in. I think he needed to play the next shot there, Murphy.
Well, Higgins will be relieved, won't he? Because this would have been an extraordinary frame to lose.
Yeah, it's a very odd situation. The fact that there was 20 in it, Murphy could have played that shot or played up and down to pop the green once. But to leave Higgins a second bite of the cherry at the green after what had gone before, in hindsight, and I think it's easy for me to say that in hindsight, I think Murphy made a bad decision there putting Higgins back in.
Where to begin with the story of the end of this frame? Murphy fluked to snooker. Higgins went in off the green.
25 on the frame.
The frame was live again, and Murphy had opportunities after that, but couldn't take them. And Higgins gratefully accepting the reprieve, having nearly tossed that frame away. The reigning World Open champion now leading the Masters King 2-1. Happy with that positional shot as we return to table 1. Now, how's Shaun Murphy going to respond to that roller coaster of a third frame, which it looked as though he might pinch it at one stage?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, decision-making in snooker is straightforward, but that was not quite so straightforward there. You know, John missed the green over the middle pocket trying to pot it. Of course, the miss was called, but Shaun was never going to take the miss or allow the miss and allow John the second chance. But he put him in from where it was, and he still potted it. So maybe Shaun should have had a go at that shot himself. I wonder what anyone watching thinks was the right decision there. Easy in hindsight, I know. But I think Shaun maybe got that one wrong. Anyway, he's got a chance to get this frame 1 to get him to the mid-session at 2-all in an eventful 3 frames.
Another excellent long-range pot from Murphy. We've seen plenty of those already. Knocked in a pressure green that helped him steal frame 2 on the black. By and large, he's cued well. He's missed 1 or 2 as well. But if he can win this frame, then
8.
He can regroup at the interval, and we start again with a best of 5. Oh, just for a moment, it looks as though he might have overcut that red, but it dropped in off the near jaw.
It's a pretty good split,
14.
and I think the key to it is not only the reds opening, but nothing has got in the way of the black. This is a wonderful opportunity.
$15.
Murphy has always had a great temperament and bags of bottle. You can't be
22.
world champion without those particular skills.
23.
And he'll use the frustrations of failing to take advantage of that late twist in frame 3 as fuel to put it right in this 4th frame, and in the process get himself level at the break.
30. 31.
One thing you said about Murphy, you know, I know he's losing this match and he could get level. It's never boring, isn't it, watching him? There's lots happening. He's always
38.
on the front foot, always on the attack, trying to make things happen. And he's been no different today. I mean, that last frame, the way he ended up losing it must have been quite frustrating. The rights and wrongs of it we've gone into enough, but you know, straight out here, opening the reds, fairly belligerent in his style, looking to address it straight away.
6.
Just the kind of leave he needed in his 4th frame, this one.
$54. $55.
Yes, I think he knew that he was losing the cue ball a little bit, so there's a more resting on this black than maybe he would have expected. Played it well enough.
$62. $63.
This has been a very impressive response from Murphy, and just underlines how well he's cued this season. Remember last season, it was a bit of a write-off, apart from the Championship League. Nothing better than the round of 16 in a ranking event. That short format tournament aside, John Higgins has another look in
68.
here. Brilliant long red from Murphy. And this is frame ball.
Yes, it's not even 6 minutes old, this frame, and it's
69.
over, basically. So that's a real boost, I think, to Shaun Murphy.
You can see why Murphy's popular with the crowds, and of course we know he's a showman. He loves to put on
76.
a show for the audiences in these big events, because he really goes for it, attacks the balls, willing to take
77.
risks to get the rewards. And he's such a smooth cueist. It really is a treat to watch.
$84.
Two decades ago,
85.
he beat Matthew Stevens of the World Championship, just the second qualifier to achieve that after the late, great Terry Griffiths, of course. Now he's a double Masters champion.
course, when Terry did that in '79, people said, well, that will never
92.
happen again. You know, the modern game, no one's ever going to do that. And I kind of agreed with that. I didn't think anyone would do it. And then
93.
Murphy did it. And for that kind of year before, we knew what a talent he was, but he just wasn't winning. He seemed to just not quite find it easy to get through those qualifiers. But that 17 days, he was sensational. It's a wonderful century, this.
Particularly given what happened at the end
100.
of that extraordinary frame 3. It's as though it never happened.
101.
The way Murphy's responded, it's just given him extra determination to get out of this session unscathed, which he's done in style.
The 108.
The 27th century of the week. Of course, John Higgins is currently in line for that £10,000 bonus
109.
in this super lucrative event. A 143 total clearance against Karen Wilson yesterday from Higgins, but he's been spectator in this one.
$116.
So Murphy can
118.
tie that break.
$121.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, isn't it?
125.
I mean, if he wants to make this break, clearly he does. He just wants to make sure he doesn't finish straight on this pink or anything like that.
130.
That's the only way, perhaps, it can go wrong. But like every other shot in this break, it's been played to perfection. It's been as good a break as you could see, I think.
136.
I think the circumstances of it as well are important. At the time of the match, perfect timing for him after a setback.
143.
That
in the
was
frame.
brilliant.
Shaun Murphy.
From Murphy. Pretty to watch. The joint highest break of the tournament. He now shares that with John Higgins. A 143 total clearance. What a way to level this compelling quarter-final at the World Grand Prix. At the interval, it's 2 each. We're back underway. And if the second half of this quarter-final is as engrossing as the first, we'll be in for a treat. John Higgins breaking off, frame 5 of a possible 9. Higgins leading the overall head-to-head, 13 victories to 9. They both have wins over one another in the World Championship, including, of course, the final, which Higgins dominated back in '09, but Murphy beat Higgins on his way to the title in 2005. Their third meeting this season, it's one apiece in that regard. And their second meeting in this tournament, Murphy having beaten Higgins 4-0 in the first round last season, but today there's a semi-final at stake. And that's another fine long pot from Murphy. We've seen a lot of those already today.
Yes, he's been dangerous, hasn't he, at long range? I mean, he always is. And, you know, I was thinking in that 2005 world title that you were speaking about, where, of course, he beat the man he's playing today en route. But, you know, his game hasn't really changed a great deal. He's a better tactical player and a safety player than he was then, because he didn't really have much of a game in that department. But the attacking side of his game is still intact. And so often when a player, you know, would get into their 40s, as is the case with Murphy, that you find, you know, become a little bit more cautious. But Murphy has not really gone down that route. Still takes the shots on.
4.
Well, is he not on something there? He's a little unlucky if so, because he's played quite a good shot, but I don't see any reds that are available. No. Maike Kesseler's got a pretty unenviable task here, putting the pink in there. It doesn't really affect anything either, because Murphy can't do anything with it. But while this is going on, he's contemplating his next safety shot.
It's got to go in a direct line with its own spot, of course, and not be touching anything else. Yeah, it wasn't possible to put it in amongst those reds and have it in a direct line with its own spot, which is why it's now gone behind that little cluster.
Thank you, Shaun.
And
10.
we're now ready to go again. So disappointing for Murphy that he didn't land on something there.
Yeah, I mean, the top spin shot through the bunch, he never can be sure. You're never getting a lot of speed on the ball to open them, but as you say, he could have finished better. So all he's got is a safety shot, you know. For all his aggression, it amounted to nothing.
I think we can be entitled to be pretty excited about
Shaun Murphy,
the upcoming
10.
World Championship, with the number of players who seem to be in very good touch, not least this pair. John Higgins, now a ranking champion again. He's got that weight off his back and is feeling as confident as he's done for several years about the shape of his game, and needless to say, he's got the pedigree to go deep again at the Crucible. He's been in 3 successive finals since he won his 4th back in 2011. Shaun Murphy, for my money, playing as well as he's ever done. Kyron Wilson, among others, looking in great shape. Higgins, though, perhaps will need to improve his long game if he's to entertain thoughts of more Crucible glory. That's another one he would have backed himself to get.
Yeah, I mean, the thing we'll say is the class of 92, who we speak about a lot, of course, are all coming up to 50 this year. In fact, Williams will already be 50 by the time we get to the Crucible.
1.
It's worth saying that the last 2 world champions have been younger, haven't they? You know, Kyron, early 30s, and Luca is still in his 20s. So I just wondered now if it's a little too much to expect somebody well into their 40s to be world champion. Where are the younger brigade? All of that will, of course, become clear.
7.
It's also worth noting that 31-year-old Jack Jones was in the final last year, and he was a qualifier, so maybe it is time for the younger generation to step up at the marathon of the mind, 2.5 weeks of it. Anyway, for now, Murphy is here in Hong Kong at the World Grand Prix, giving Johnson problems, you know, getting in and putting the frighteners on him a little bit with the way that he seems to be hitting the ball.
.22. .23.
Nice shot, nice recovery. Yellow down on the reds at this end of the table.
.25. 26.
So he can get over the left-hand red to the right corner, just run it through. That's where he's going to go next to, well, there could be a plant, the two reds also.
31.
Which he certainly would have looked at. Yeah, they are, and John's was not aware of the plant. I thought he'd play on the bottom red first, actually, and save the plant. But either way, well on his way here. Not needing to go into them. So he's now on that red I thought he'd play on previously, and now it would open the red up above it. So everything is unfolding for him.
I think the most impressive thing about Murphy so far in this match is the way he's shrugged off what happened at the end of that third frame, which he could well have won from a very unlikely position, but he's not let it faze him remotely, although he didn't want that cannon.
It's one thing that you can do on that shot. If you get into the cue ball, there's too much adrenaline pumping you. You don't slide past the red, you go into it as he did.
Plenty of pressure on this one. We know what Higgins can do from 50 odd behind.
44.
Yeah, and some on this as well, because the frame is still alive, 67 on, so he's got to drop the pink or black in and still put another red. So he just found a few little problems here.
Ball.
Well, he's playing the pink. Got a better angle on the pink, but it's tough. Yeah. Plot twist.
Shaun Murphy.
He'd be
44.
furious. All because a few shots back, he played that blue and kissed the red on the way through to the cushion. It kind of put him out of sync. The break got more difficult, something had to give. And here we could be seeing a typical John Higgins. As Philip said, you know, he's well known for dishing up these.
One.
Who would you rather be right now? Murphy with a 53-point lead or Higgins at the table? There is a red up the table, but it's not the hardest. So another big moment midway through this quarter-final. Chance for Higgins to inflict a nasty blow on his opponent. Back underway on table 2 as well, of course, with Neal Robertson
6.
having to absorb the disappointment of losing that tight fourth frame, which went down to the final pink. But he's in early in the fifth with a very good chance to get back to within a single frame of Zhao Guodong.
Seven.
I mean, the red up the table is going to be no problem, really. It's more the red, I think, on the left. Sometimes, you know, that far away from the cushion, you're not going to cannon them out. Unlikely to play the double on it. You know, the attempt would be to just slip in behind it, to put it to right middle, perhaps. All of that, we'll have to wait and see.
Fourteen. Fifteen. Wanted to.
Well, the cue ball didn't really want it down there. So now all of a sudden things have got a little bit, not so much complicated, but a bit out of sync with what's usually the case. I mean, the clearance, the green into one of the bottom pockets.
John Higgins,
that was a surprise. As we've said before, John Higgins has cleared up from there a lot of times, but he just got himself a little further and further away from it happening, didn't he? So that will be a great relief to Shaun Murphy.
Meanwhile, Neal Robertson was eyeing the possibility of getting into a position where he could make a 6th maximum break of his career, but he's missed a red. And I think there's still enough there for Zhao Guodong to pinch it. No, the frame's over.
He
Forget that.
Made a break of 80, didn't he? Which should seal that frame, and did seal the frame. So, yeah, no maximum, which is a shame. We'd like to have seen one, wouldn't we, here in Hong Kong this week? Because we had one the last time snooker was played here when Marco Fu made one in that huge venue they used, where he eventually lost in the final to Ronnie O'Sullivan. It was only it wasn't a ranking event, but a couple of summers ago.
Yeah, Higgins was on the wrong end of that maximum. It was in the deciding frame, and then 9,000 people turned up for the final, which O'Sullivan won, of course.
Rumble.
Meanwhile, Higgins unable to produce one of those trademark clearances, so Murphy still in charge of this frame and looking to mess the table up a bit. This time it's Higgins who needs the snookers, 2 of them.
Very good. He does need 2 snookers, which of course will keep Shaun Murphy relatively happy that he's not on the brink of losing, and there's not going to be a miss called should he not make contact with the yellow because of the snookers required situation. And that's probably why he chipped the brown safe a few shots back. I don't know if that's because of the snookers needed or just because if he did get them, then he'd have to clear up, which would be extremely difficult from here. Unfortunately, there's enough room around the back of this yellow to miss it. Brilliant shot.
After what happened in frame 3, you wouldn't rule anything out. Murphy needed 2 snookers, flute 1, and could have pinched the frame. In the end, he didn't. But given the state of the table at the moment, this would be something extraordinary if Higgins would have turned this around.
2.
Yeah, I mean, he's just taking one of those safe balls off the cushion here, isn't he? I mean, there's just no point leaving it there. That's why he potted the yellow, make the green the ball on, because he's not going to get a snooker behind it. I don't know how he is. I mean, black's the only ball, really, and he's already used that once. I mean, you can get a snooker behind anything, but for the most part, slipping in behind the black ball is
Shaun Higgins, 2.
the most likely route to getting one.
That's not a bad bit of cueing from Shaun Murphy to make a Higgins comeback here, remote in the extreme, if it wasn't already.
Shaun Murphy, 3, and frame.
John Higgins concedes, and Shaun Murphy, having been 2-1 behind, now leads the 4-times world champion by 3 frames to 2. 5 is the target for a place in the World Grand Prix semi-finals. Murphy with the edge.
Thank you. Frame 6. Shaun Murphy to break.
Shaun Murphy just opened the door for John Higgins in the previous frame. But for once, Higgins from 54 points down couldn't make one of his clearances. So Murphy 3-2 up, back-to-back frames either side of the interval. Of course, he equalled Higgins' highest break of the tournament with a magnificent 1-4-3 total clearance in the 4th frame.
I don't know if it's touching ball or not. Don't think it is.
Unorthodox, the rest in mid-air, but just a case of touching the reds.
Yeah, the one red coming out will annoy him. Although Higgins is not quite as potent at long range, it seems, as he was, or certainly as the man he's playing is. It's not necessarily been that he's getting in that much with long pots, but he's got one here. a good shot. I think he played it with a trace of left-hand side. He certainly wanted the cue ball to stay away from the bunch of reds, which he managed.
Four.
Well, he looked at the 4-ball plant, but I don't think he really sees it as a viable option. So not much came of that.
John Higgins, 4.
I think it's pretty obvious John Higgins at 3-2 down. He's looking to just tighten the game up a little bit, you know, trying to keep Murphy away from the big chances, slow things down a touch. It may or may not work. Murphy is experienced enough to know that. And one thing he won't do, Murphy, he won't change his own plan. He'll take it the shots on. He always does.
One thing Murphy has done already today is raise his game from his victory over Barry Hawkins. Hawkins was out of sorts for once this season. He's been very consistent. Murphy made a few mistakes, but won comfortably. But I'm sure he would have been mindful, particularly the way Higgins played against Karen Wilson, that he needed to find an extra gear or two. And so far today he has. But here's another chance from distance for Higgins. Not this time. What's the damage?
Well, Higgins got lucky there when we saw the table. You know, he missed that long pot, and we're saying that it's not his strong suit, but he got away with it. Extremely thin, and of course in potting it he couldn't control the cue ball at all. I don't know what he does here. If he took on the yellow to middle, there's not really a very easy red to land on. There's one that if he finished low on the left side he could get on the red to middle. Murphy definitely got a game plan to be positive, isn't he? I mean, there was a situation where he didn't have to go for a colour. But he knows against Higgins he can't get embroiled in these long battles.
5.
Whether that's something he has discussed with Peter Ebden, who oversees his game, these days or what, but he's trying to take the match, I think, to Higgins.
Six.
Whatever Murphy is working on with Peter Ebdon behind the scenes, one thing is clear. It's certainly that partnership hasn't in any way dimmed his attacking instincts. On the contrary. Into the bunch, hit them well. Very, very unlucky.
Shaun Murphy 6.
Very unlucky.
John Higgins
That
4.
was not deserved. I mean, how much more can he do there? You know, he kept the break going, the brown to middle, the long red, the aggressive shot here. I don't know if, the only thing I will say, I don't know, we're not going to see it from that view, whether the two reds were lined up. Maybe it was avoidable, but I think in the main, it was very unfortunate what happened there. You sometimes don't get what you deserve this game. Higgins has been presented something that he hasn't really earned here.
1. Seven. Eight.
Yeah, that looked on, didn't it? I'm surprised John did that, because it did look like it was hard to avoid going into the brown if you played it with pace.
15.
And I mean, he's finished. I mean, right in the jaws. I don't know if he's angled on all of these balls. I mean, he's going from corner to corner of the table here. There's been a few little oddities in this match, isn't there? Certainly that frame that Higgins could easily have lost, where Murphy wanted two snookers. That was a bizarre into a frame. In here, look, I mean, I don't know how far it would be from that corner right down to this corner. Certainly more than 12 feet. It's far enough. Be a difficult shot, this. Well, that wasn't one of John's finest.
15.
I mean, if he's buried in the bunch here, and Murphy can't get to the red, it wouldn't be deserved, quite frankly.
It's touching ball.
Oh, goodness me. How lucky has John been there? So two things have happened. First of all, Murphy knocked the red in, which was unlucky. Then he's completely butchered that shot and left Murphy nothing.
One certainty in life is that when you see a snooker player smiling, unless it's the end of the week and they're lifting the trophy, they're not happy.
It's not easy to work out what to do here, is it? How can he get to anything to even play a safety shot? Shaun was incredibly fortunate. If he can get to that side he's at now, he can take the cue ball down the left side and he won't leave the red that's quite close to the left corner. Won't be able to cut back.
All sorts of paraphernalia required here for Murphy to get himself out of this hole.
Yeah, I mean, he's put the extension on the swan neck. I mean, what else is under there? He's like Inspector Gadget, isn't he? All this equipment.
Well, it's hard to overestimate the unpleasantness of this shot. Miles away from where he's queuing down from the clouds. Red's surrounding the cue ball. It's horrible. Horrible. I think he's abandoned that plan. Higgins was exceptionally fortunate to leave him as he has.
He's been over 3 minutes on this shot. Now, I'm not having a moan about that, because clearly he doesn't know what to do. I mean, it's literally, there isn't much he can do. So it's been a long while. It's approaching 3.5 minutes. And he hasn't played a shot, but as I say, I think it's with justification on this occasion. I don't know exactly how long, but it was over 3.5 minutes. To be honest, he's played a brilliant shot, hasn't he? He's played a brilliant shot. At the end of it all, it's worth the wait.
This frame proving to be quite a battle, and it's a vital one clearly, as Higgins very nearly goes in off, but just got the pace right. The difference between 4-2 and 3 each. If Murphy does win it, he'll be very much in the box seat, looking for his 3rd consecutive frame.
Well, red to right middle, he would usually maybe fancy, but clearly he doesn't like it. He could play it in such a way that, you know, if he pots the red, he gets the snooker. I don't think he'd be trying to play to pot it and get onto a colour. And now the red he's closest to, he's looking at. Different sort of shot, more difficult. Very hard to find the angle of these down that cushion. It's a terrific shot, you know, to pot that.
One.
And it's going to be a snooker that he lays on Higgins here.
Rumble. Shaun Murphy won.
I thought the way he was playing it, that he might have left a little gap through there to the red, and Maike Kesseler seems to have taken interest in that as well. Can John get through? Well, this time Higgins has not got away with it. That was he played it with side, but the cue was raced up and down. Now the chance has come. So Murphy has been very patient and very tolerant of a few things go against him. Now he's got a chance, a proper chance.
Thank you. 1.
That's just a lovely execution of that shot. He knew he had the red at the bottom of the bunch that he was going to land on, but he had to deliver the cue through the ball perfectly. It was a lovely shot. And I think, as I say, the key to Shaun Murphy, and especially playing John Higgins, is to stay positive, stay aggressive. And I think he's, to put the frighteners on John, of course, John's been there and seen it all. But he's unnerving John, I think, with the kind of open, attacking nature of his game today.
16.
He's not really tried to match John in the safety. He's just kind of gone the other direction. And at the moment, he is getting the upper hand.
17.
It's the brand of snooker that he brought to that 2005 World Championship run all the way to the trophy, when, by his own admission, he didn't have much of a safety game. It was all about the potting and the break building, and a significant fight
24.
back in the final. He was 10-6 down overnight to Matthew Stevens, who'd already been in a world final, of course.
25.
A much more complete player these days, but none of those attacking instincts, the flair that Murphy has always possessed, have been diminished at all.
Yeah, that's worked out well. I'm not sure that's what he played, however, but I don't think it matters that much.
32.
So handy lead and 3 reds with pretty high value colours means he won't need the red on the right. 16 points to lead. Of course, 3 reds and blacks is 40 points, so he can afford a few less than that. I think just about anything but 3 reds and blues
33.
will suffice here.
And when you consider that he was incredibly unlucky to knock in a red with the brown when he went into the bunch much earlier in the frame, and then John Higgins had the luck of
38.
not leaving him a chance when he was touching ball after Higgins made a mess of a safety.
39.
You would say that Murphy deserves to come out on top of this frame, and it now looks likely he will. .30 the lead then, this red. And a pink, or better,
46.
to go 2 up with 3 to play. And that's some result for Murphy
47.
after the circumstances in which he lost that bizarre frame 3.
He's taken these well. And yes, it's a snooker, and Higgins will carry on, so we shouldn't assume anything after frame 3.
54.
But it is 38 in it with 35 on. That's the equation.
Shaun Murphy, 54.
Again, played that well. Cue ball guided back to positioning behind the black.
Foul. Shaun Murphy's 7.
Higgins deliberating whether to concede. He's decided not to.
Free ball.
And it's a free ball as well, although Murphy doesn't have an obvious colour to go for as a extra red, but surely this frame is going to be his. 45 in front. So 3 snookers currently for Higgins, with Murphy in control of the table.
Yeah, he's not quite got the snooker. In fact, I think he's left the potting angle available. So this would absolutely end the frame. Still no snooker.
Certainly no shortage of balls for Higgins to hide the cue ball behind, which is why he's continuing here. If anyone can pull off something extraordinary in circumstances like this, it's Higgins, who currently needs 3 snookers, but of course there's always the spectre of a free ball.
Well, he completely mishit that one, didn't he? He's not got hold of it at all. So this red goes into middle, and that is end of frame. And it was... John was fair enough carrying on, but in fairness, he's made no impression on this frame. He has not played it well all the way through. And we know well John has been playing, having won the event last week in Shaun, but
6.
His game has just tailed off a little bit so far today, and he's a little bit sort of susceptible when Murphy's had a go at him. He's played really attacking snooker, and now he's within a frame, beating him.
He may feel a little fatigued mentally, of course, Higgins. It was a big week for him. Quite an emotional win, no doubt, after so many near misses so often over the past 4 years, and then to finally get over the line as he did against Joe O'Connor. He was brilliant yesterday against Kyren Wilson. He started well again today, but
15.
Murphy undoubtedly merits his lead. He could have won this frame a bit earlier with a bit more luck, but it's not fazed him. He's just stayed in the zone, and he's going to be within a frame of his 10th victory
20.
over John Higgins. Who leads the head-to-head as things stand, 13-9. But in the end, Murphy
26.
has dominated this frame. His third in a row. Now, what's he trying here? Whatever it was. Ah, there you go. Not strictly in the rule book, but
Shaun Murphy 26.
it's
John
irrelevant.
Higgins,
Shaun
7.
Murphy
Frame.
on the cusp
Murphy.
of another major semi-final. He leads the great John Higgins here in Hong Kong by 4 frames to 2. 5 is the target for a place in the last 4 tomorrow. Has
Thank you,
made
frame
50
7.
breaks in said frames, so he's had to
John
battle.
Higgins to break.
And that should be a cracking match later on. That'll be our feature from 11:30 UK time. Here's John Higgins breaking off in a frame. He's got to win now to keep his hopes of this World Grand Prix alive. The other match this evening, Mark Selby playing his 100th ranking quarter-final against Stuart Bingham. Bingham, along with Vafai, still with a chance of sneaking into that Players' Championship in Telford, but both would have to make the final to do so.
Well, he'll again like to pursue a pot here, but it's not an easy starter, this, by any means, and he can't get underneath the cubel either very easily, so he's going to roll it in. It's a superb shot. I mean, it really is. Out of the top draw.
His long game today has been outstanding. But also the way he shook off the disappointment of that third frame. It's one of the great attributes to have in this sport, which is bound to test your patience, your
6.
sanity sometimes with the way things pan out, but Murphy has played since that frame as though it never happened.
7.
course, he knocked in a 1-4-3 total clearance straight afterwards in about 5 minutes to go to the interval at 2-all, and it's been Murphy dominating proceedings since then.
Yeah, and not so much the last piece of the jigsaw, but certainly the red's opened up from this blue, and he's already examining the prospect or the concern of knocking a red in. But if he can get this right, he could be on his way.
Foul.
Oh, he has knocked a red in. Oh, he has knocked a red in.
Shaun Murphy 7.
Oh, my goodness.
John Higgins 5.
He looked at everything there. I mean, I suppose all you can say about that is that he's gone in with such venom that you're probably increasing the chance of knocking a ball in. But he's very unfortunate. Very unlucky there for me.
One.
So Higgins, whether you feel that the runner ball of the ball has favoured him or not, with a chance to get a frame back, it's not John Higgins' fault, of course, that Murphy knocked the red in. And I'll say it again, Murphy was unlucky, but he does go at the bunch so hard that balls are going to be going in all directions. You know, it's a quality, but you know, you do open up the possibility of that happening, I guess. And John is there to just pick up the pieces of it.
Five. Ten.
Yeah, the angle was perfect just to push that red away. There's no reason now why he wouldn't go on and win the frame here, you feel.
$18. $19.
That was a good red to get on if he's on that right-hand red, because that really does open almost the floodgates, really, to everything
26.
being available. I think he's on it.
27.
Well, he's not nicely on this. I don't know whether he was a little tight on the red, but quite honestly, he didn't do a lot on that last shot, did he? And I'm not saying he'll miss this black, but he's heaped some pressure on himself for this shot. Little delicate shot, bottom of the cue ball, cannon on the red above it. This can go wrong. But not for John Higgins, who's in still confident mode, isn't he, since that win in the World Open last week.
34.
Meanwhile, Neal Robertson has just made a century to win his third consecutive frame. So from 3-1 behind against Zhao Guodong, Robertson now
35.
within a frame of victory at 4-3. Coverage continues on Discovery Plus. The winner to play the winner of this match in the semis.
Forty-two. Forty-three.
Had Murphy not had the misfortune to see a red go in when he split the bunch about as emphatically as you can, he might have been closing in on victory now, but Higgins with a great chance to reduce the arrears, keep his hopes alive.
Fifty. Fifty-one.
Well, just able to hold, or has he? You know, he was trying to gently pop that.
58.
He's kind of made a little bit of hard work of this. And he knows that he only needs another red. And it's very thin to middle. The angle he had on the black was really taking the cue ball beyond the red, but he managed to play it quite gently. And, I mean, it looks okay on that angle, doesn't it? But I think when you see it from the other angle, you realise it's quite a tricky little cutback. He won't be thinking about anything else but the pot. I mean, even if he went it off, having potted it, there'd be too many in it. So it's all about this one pot.
And in it goes, so
9.
it's looking like 4-3. Murphy had the misfortune of knocking in a red with his colour when he smashed into the bunch. Higgins appears to have made the most of it. 57 the lead, 51 left, 2 snookers required as things stand. And Higgins just pushing the black safe for good measure.
John Higgins. 59.
Murphy coming back, but much to do.
Well, the cue ball has drifted a little awkwardly, and he has to pot a colour of any significance here, or else, of course, the frames are over anyway. So that's not gone in. I reckon That's end of frame, and he's offered the frame to John, and John has accepted
Higgins.
the concession.
Yes, some bad luck for Murphy earlier in the piece, but John Higgins has made the most of his opportunity to get himself back in contention. Murphy remains in charge, but he's only one in front. One up with 2 to play.
Thank you. Frame 8. Shaun Murphy to break.
Shaun Murphy breaking off in frame 8 of a possible 9. He'll hope we don't need 9. He leads John Higgins 4-3. Higgins having won the 7th to stay in the hunt.
Well, John is hanging on, isn't he? He did well in that last frame to win it, but Murphy with a chance, which a few would deny John Shaun this win if he got it, I think, because he hasn't had a particularly good run of the ball. But now he's got a chance. There can be no excuse from here. Yes, there's a lot to do, but there's 4 or 5 reds in play. Just the early opportunity he was looking for, I think. Well, that cue ball has not gone as far across as he wanted it to. He might well still be able to pop the red, but not straight enough, and he's going to have to use the rest. So this is not nice. He looks quite disappointed with that last shot.
Seven.
Well, it was a shot before, really, wasn't it, that he looked so disappointed on that pink that he never got behind the red. And he's just a sign that he's a bit worried now. The previous frame, when he opened the reds up, and for the second time he knocked a ball in doing so, he looked at the bunch from every angle to see where the red was going to go in. Couldn't find one, but it did go in when he played the shot. It set him back a little bit. Meanwhile, Higgins is trying to play all kinds of shots. He tried to go into the bunch and ended up nearly knocking the green in, which is not even a thing, really, from there. He's certainly adventurous himself, John. So quite a lot has happened in this match. Been very enjoyable.
John Higgins, 1. Foul, miss. John Higgins, 4. Foul. Miss. John Higgins, 4.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be that troublesome here. He's missed it twice. But now, of course, Higgins might be tempted to play the red to middle rather than have them replaced. He's looked at it and decided against it. Well, that was a good escape in the end. John is just taking the sting out of the match a little bit now. Murphy, I think, just looks a little concerned. He got in first. I said there was a real opportunity, and we know what happened. But if it's got to a decider, he'd feel maybe that he'd been the better player for it to get there. Higgins just battling, as he always does. He's just battling for every shot. Well, Johnny's winding himself up to take on this red, I think. He's going to run it through. Trouble is, if you don't get close to this, a cue ball can go offline and finish anywhere. Played it slowly, I suppose, so there was less chance of that happening.
The momentum of this match has just stalled for the time being. Murphy, of course, had the early chance in this frame, but it didn't amount to much. Missed with the rest, having landed a bit awkwardly. It certainly feels on the balance of players, though Murphy merits his advantage, but sometimes you don't get what you deserve, and there's still time, of course, for Higgins to have the last word once again in this match. He was outplayed a couple of times during the World Open, but found a way. And of course, he's now got that extra belief that perhaps had just gone missing for a while, that he can still deliver the goods when the chance to win a tight match comes along. Oh, he's completely miscued there. Goodness, what happened there? Well, that could be... Well, hang on, he's not going to get away with it, is he? No, I don't think so.
No, that was a significant miscue, wasn't it? And threw the cue ball offline. So it's an opportunity, albeit with the pink and black now not easily accessible. He'll have to be on the blue for now. They'd be a little bit worried about going into the bunch again, I think, off the blue. Here's the miscue, which we're able to speak about. It was surprising. Just threw it completely offline.
1.
Yes, the table not exactly ideal for heavy scoring right now, with two highest value colours awkwardly placed, but it's a chance at least for Murphy to put something together. We know our first semi-finalist is going to be Neal Robertson, and what a performance from the
6.
former world UK and Masters champion after the interval against Xiao Guodong, who deservedly led 3-1 at the break, but Robertson has dominated since then. He's won 4 in a row, a century in the previous frame, and he's wrapping up victory now.
7.
And that means that Robertson moves into 16th spot. Apropos the Crucible seedings. Of course, that remains provisional, but it's looking very likely that he will be one of the seeds in Sheffield and won't have to go to qualify.
Oh.
Murphy hoping to join him there. And if he can win today, he'll take a big step in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, for Neal Robertson, it'll be a relief to be back there if he can be in that 16, because he didn't qualify last year. Of course, same thing happened to Barry Hawkins 2 seasons ago. Not qualifying. And it's hard to sort of cope with that, you know, when you're used to playing there. The first year when you do miss out in qualifying. Happens to a lot of people.
13.
Well, he's played on the black, so that was a bold move. He continues to play positive shots, but I mean, to get the black in play here, you have to generally, I think, play this fairly gently. It's a beautiful shot. So that's a high-value colour in play. If he gets up on the blue, I want to know if he's going to go into the bunch again, because he must be getting
20.
frightened of it. Let's see. He knocked a ball in twice today, both very significantly.
21.
So will he do it? He knows what the shot is. Can he risk playing it? Surely the luck will change. And will he even try and play it at that same speed? Well, it's a brilliant effort, and he's not on an easy red, I might add, but he's on a red. And all credit to Murphy there, because surely he would have been thinking that something could have gone wrong there after what went before, but he still really attacked the bunch, so fair play.
It's been the theme throughout this match, and indeed the lion's share of this season, the way in which Murphy has really taken the game to his opponent. Didn't flinch after losing that unusual third frame, certainly the climax of it. On the contrary, he knocked in a long red and cleared the table with 143,
32.
and he's not really looked back since. A bit of misfortune has delayed victory, but here is a golden chance to seal a very big win for him.
33. $40. 41.
Well, he's just about outplayed Higgins so far. And if he wins Shaun Murphy, it would be deserved, I think. But he's not there yet. There's a little bit more to do. He wouldn't want to fall down at the last hurdle, and he's almost close to that point now.
48.
Going for his second World Grand Prix title this weekend, Murphy. He won the first year. It was a ranking event
49.
in Llandudno back in 2016. 2 seasons ago, he won the other 2 legs of what's now known as the Players' Series, quite brilliantly, actually. The Players' Championship in particular, and the Tour Championship as well thereafter. Last season was a bit of a write-off, aside from the Championship League. This season, though, he has been back to his brilliant best. The Masters, of course, and now what looks like being
52.
a fine victory over the man of the moment, John Higgins. Still a bit to do.
53.
But he's nearly home. It's black. And one more red to make absolutely sure.
60.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't taken a backward step, has he? Despite a few
61.
setbacks really all along the way. So I like the way he got the bunch open and he's exploited the chance. And when he came to the table, it was an opportunity after John's miscue, but the high value colours were not in play, but he brought that black into the game by rolling it down the cushion.
68.
And he's in that kind of Masters winning form, isn't he, from earlier in the year? He's playing really confidently again.
69. $76.
Looking to finish with his second century
77.
of the match. I think John Higgins will congratulate Murphy warmly and admit that he's been outplayed today. It's been a great week or so for Higgins, ending that 4-year wait for a 32nd ranking title in Shaun and playing quite brilliantly yesterday against the reigning world champion Kyren Wilson.
85.
But today, Shaun Murphy has proved a test too far. Superb performance.
$92. $94.
It's on now, isn't it? That's a beautiful little nudge.
$97.
For his 51st century of the campaign.
101.
What a great performance this has been from Shaun Murphy. He knew he had to raise his game today from the level he produced in what was quite a scrappy affair with Barry Hawkins, who was out of sorts. He has more than done that.
106.
No, you're right. He knew he had to play well to beat John Higgins, the form that Higgins has been in, and he has really done that. It's been superb.
112.
And it's been great entertainment for this crowd in Hong Kong. A terrific match. A sparkling break of 112, and John Higgins congratulates Shaun Murphy on a thoroughly deserved victory and a 53rd ranking semi-final appearance. He loves playing here in Hong Kong. He loves the crowd. They love him and his style of snooker. Who doesn't? He's one of the most watchable players in the game, without a doubt. And he's through to the last 4, where he will play Neal Robertson for a place in the title match. Murphy beats John Higgins by 5 frames to 3.
Shaun, on paper, that was such a tough match because John Higgins is flying after winning the World Open and beating the reigning world champion, Kyren Wilson. So you must be delighted with the manner of that victory as well as the scalp.
Yeah, I mean, it's the scalp, isn't it? It's always a tough match when you play Higgins. Like, it doesn't matter where it is, what day it is, but especially the week after he's just won a massive tournament and got that renewed sense of confidence and purpose that he spoke about. So I knew today going into it was going to be difficult. Listen, I think we can both play better than we played today. It was extremely challenging conditions out there, but you've got to try and adapt to it. You've got to get the ball round. And, you know, in the end, I was actually playing nicely towards the end.
Well, brilliant century to finish and the 1-4-3 earlier on in the match. So you're sharing currently the highest break prize with John.
Yeah, he put his arm around me as we left the arena after the interval and said, you know, thanks for stealing $5,000 off him. Listen, I'm sure after last week he won't miss $5,000, but no, it's good spirit. It was a match playing in good spirit, and as they always are with John, it's an honour to share the stage with him. You know, players like him. You know, I look up to him. I've looked up to him all my career. He's been teaching me since I was a teenager. So it was a delight to share the stage with him one more time, and I hope that we have some more games in the future.
Yeah, you probably will be, especially after his win last week. His top 16 position is secured for a while to come. Speaking of which, you've been paying close attention to the top 16 and the race to the Crucible, and you've said you've got an opportunity. It's in your hands, and you've taken a step closer here. And what a great occasion. You or Neal, whichever of you wins the semi-final, you are, at the end of this tournament, projected to be back in the 16.
Yeah, well, it's probably as it should be, isn't it? You know, us two are in that kind of race on that bubble line for the Crucible seedings as it stands. Of course, we've got more events to come, so this week's not terminal. But it'd be great to go out there and play for it. That's probably how it should be, really. I've been keeping a close eye on the rankings all week. It's been frustrating that a couple of the people in the race near me have had good weeks too. Neal being the obvious case. But sure, listen, it's the semi-final. That's exactly how it should be. Let's shake hands and have a tear up and see who's here on Sunday.
Well, and what makes it even more intriguing is that he beat you en route to the English Open title last autumn, and you beat him en route to the Masters title in January. So you've both beaten the other in a title-winning week. It's got everything, this match.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we've been putting on good matches, most of our career. So it's no surprise that we're sort of at this end of the event. It is the best 32 of the season that are here, and it's great to see the lineup that's been left for the weekend. I hope Neal and I put on a good show. I have a sneaky feeling we will, and I think it'll be close.
Oh, brilliant. We can't wait. Well done today, Shaun.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks. Okay.